Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Covering Your Health with Evelyn Erives, presented by IEHP. Wow, today marks our seventh episode in the second season, and we're really kind of going back to the basics, something we've talked about a lot throughout our first season: food. Food, it's so important, right? So, we're getting back to the food basics. And today we are welcoming another wonderful guest to our Covering Your Health family, Carolyn Fajardo. She is going to talk to us about the organization that she is the CEO of, Feeding America Riverside San Bernardino, which is providing much needed food services and really helping some of our most vulnerable communities right here in the IE. Carolyn is only the second, this is really cool, second female CEO of Feeding America, and its youngest in history. And she is bringing this really engaging perspective of their mission and its hope for the future. We're going to talk about food deserts, how the kids can get involved, how it's helping our most vulnerable communities in the IE. Let's get going.
Welcome to Covering Your Health, a wellness podcast dedicated to covering all areas of living a healthy and happy lifestyle. From healthy hearts to understanding health plans and everything in between, each episode will provide you with a better understanding of managing your health, preventative care, and staying on the right path for your family's wellness journey. The Covering Your Health podcast is presented by IEHP. Now, your host, Evelyn Erives.
All right, let's get started. Hi, Carolyn. Welcome to the Covering Your Health show.
Hi, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Very excited to have you. I know your organization's doing a lot of wonderful things right here in the Inland Empire, but let's talk about you. I always like to start with our guests. I want to know, how did you find yourself in this line of work?
Yeah, so I've been in the nonprofit space for about a decade now. So when I was first getting started in my career, for me, it felt like the easiest way to get into marketing and public relations, and everything that I went to school for was to start with a nonprofit because that's where the help is always needed. If you offer help, it's almost always going to be taken. So when I was in college, I started interning, doing development, so working in fundraising, doing some of the marketing stuff, and my career kind of progressed from there. It started when I was in college, and just from there, I continued to be in the nonprofit space, primarily in fundraising and marketing. And then at the food bank, when I started here, I was in marketing and fundraising for a couple years. And then COVID happened, and that changed a lot of stuff. I feel like it helped me, it gave me an opportunity to really show my skill. So from then I was promoted and I oversaw volunteers and fundraising. And then a few years later after that, I was promoted to CEO. So it was a rather quick adjustment there, but I feel like I guess I learned I worked under pressure pretty well. So
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. Tell me about your early years. Did you know all along from a young age that you wanted to be in PR and marketing and go that route?
I wanted to do the marketing side of things. I really never thought I was going to be on the fundraising side, but marketing being more crafty, creative, storytelling, I really enjoyed that. So that's really where I saw my career sort of moving. Now my hands are a little bit in everything, being the CEO of the organization. Now I'm in operations, I'm in fundraising, do a lot of public speaking. I'm out in the community a lot. So my role has really transformed. It's really shifted. It's forced me to learn new skills and be adaptable. So it's certainly changed, but I still do love the work that I do.
No, that's fantastic. And you're a Cal State San Bernardino alum and Cal Baptist. My daughter's just going to graduate in a couple months from Cal State San Bernardino too. So I'm super excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's IE through and through. So did you grow up out here your whole life?
I didn't. I grew up in LA County. Most of my life, I lived in the Norwalk area, Norwalk, Whittier, Bellflower. And then when I was in college, I moved to this area. My grandparents were living in Corona at the time. I went to Cal State San Bernardino. Then when I graduated, my parents had moved to Riverside, and my life just kind of moved to the IE, and I've been here since. So
That is so funny. You and I had a simple trajectory. We were from Whittier,
Oh, okay.
Norwalk area. We were all from that area. We
Yeah.
moved out this way. I moved to Fontana, but with my family. But then we eventually went to Corona, and then we ended up in Riverside as well.
Yeah.
So it's so funny.
Maybe that's
Um,
how our shifts happen to the IE, right? We all kind of jump a little bit until we find our place, and then we're like, okay, this is it. So,
Yeah, this is where I like to be. I love it in Riverside now. This is, now my littler kids are going to school through the programs here, and we've really found our place. But that's so wonderful to hear. So let me know. I understand you're the youngest in this position ever to do this. Tell me about that.
yeah. So, our organization has had probably in its history maybe four CEOs, maybe five.
Yeah.
Before me was Stephanie Otero. She was amazing, really great for the organization, brought a lot of change. But then she moved out of state, and she was
Oh,
very encouraging for me to take this role. She kind of served as a mentor for me when I was on the staff here. So
yeah.
she really encouraged me to take this when I was still in my 20s. I didn't have as much confidence that I could do it, but I've been here for almost 3 years doing this role now, and we're still here. So
Yeah.
I'm not doing too bad.
You're doing great. No, you're doing amazing. What do you think drives your really strong work ethic? Because you don't become CEO after a few years without a strong work ethic. What do you think drives that for you?
I think for myself, it was probably just my family.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from a family where they didn't have a lot of educational experience. So for me, first to go to college, first to graduate, got my master's degree, felt a lot
Yeah.
of pressure there. It was probably mostly internalized pressure, but wanted to do well and wanted to kind of prove to them that I could do it. And then from there, when I was in these roles, it was more of just me wanting to again also prove that I could do it, that I could take this to new places, bring new ideas.
Yeah.
And I think that worked in my favor.
Were there other organizations throughout the Inland Empire that you worked with before coming over to Feeding America?
In the Inland Empire, the only ones that I worked for that were also nonprofits was at Cal State San Bernardino. I worked for the
Nice.
annual fund. So when you get those calls, as a parent, you probably get those calls saying donate to the
Yeah.
university. I used to be a student caller. Um, and I also worked for another nonprofit on campus doing their social media.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like those people that are on the other end, that's training. I mean, that is literally setting you up for how you're going to do the rest of your career because it does teach you how to just be bold, be on the phone, talk to people you don't know, ask for money, which is not easy to do ever. Um, I've done a lot of nonprofit work too myself, and it's one of those hard. It's like the hardest thing to do is to ask
Yeah.
people, like, can you just give me money? It's not for me, I swear. It's for other.
Yeah.
It's for a bigger picture. It's not an easy thing to do, but I understand here in the Inland Empire what you are doing with Feeding America Riverside is really amazing work because there are so many food insecure people here in the Inland Empire. Let's talk about that. Can you define exactly what food insecurity is?
Yeah, so food insecurity is the lack of access to 3 meals a day and not by choice. So a lot of people
Hmm.
say, well, I didn't have lunch, so maybe I'm food insecure. No, you're not food insecure. If you have the means to go out and get food, this
Yeah.
wouldn't qualify for you. But we know that in the Inland Empire, there are over 500,000 people that are at risk of food insecurity, meaning they don't have access to those meals. And a greater half of those are children. So there are lots of kids throughout the IE that their main source of food is through their schools, really.
Wow, that's heartbreaking. And then with COVID, that had to be just devastating.
Yeah, during the pandemic, we saw the need increase quite significantly when there was just sudden job losses. And it was a lot of people that had come to the food bank for the first time. So they weren't even really sure about the process or what to do, the frequency of it. And there's often a lot of fears, especially when there are language barriers,
Yeah.
that really deters people from coming to these types of distributions. So we still see that today. I feel like during the pandemic, we were very lucky that there was a lot of spotlight on what we were doing. So we were able to get the funding to be able to support the growing need. The need is still growing today though, but there's less of a spotlight on it. So we're not getting as much financial support to be able to meet that need. But even
Mm.
today, just with the economic times and lots of scarcity, people are still coming to us fearful of how they're going to get their next meal.
And so let me ask, what do you do when somebody is on the fence about coming? I mean, how do you get that information out to these people who maybe don't realize that they can just come and receive from you?
Yeah, so we run quite a few different hunger relief programs, and we do so just so that way we can reach people where they are and where they're most comfortable at. So we do take phone calls from people here. We have a pantry on site, which we can probably talk a little bit more about later. Um,
Hmm.
but a lot of the way that people learn about us is actually word of mouth. We do one program called our Senior Mobile Pantries, where we go to different senior sites. It's kind of where we meet seniors where they are after they do their fitness classes or their afternoon, gatherings. We're there with our food distribution. They can take the food. We're there every single month. They get produce, they get dry goods. They're able to socialize while they're there as well. So we're serving about 2,000 seniors, actually closer to 2,500 every month throughout the IE through
Hmm.
senior mobile pantries. And that is one of my favorite programs because it's pretty much primarily grown through word of mouth. When the seniors attend their fitness classes before, they tell the other seniors to stick around to get food, and then
Yeah.
they tell their neighbors, they tell their friends. So it's grown so organically, but it's such a community focused program, and we don't have any restrictions on that. So even if you are younger than 55, you can still come to those sites and get food. Our goal is really to just meet people where they are. So we
Yeah.
prioritize seniors, but if you need the food, you can still come by. And pretty much with all of our programs, our staff speak English and Spanish, and most of the content that they're receiving is also in English and Spanish. So that way they can share it with their friends, with their neighbors, and that we have staff on site that can help people, at least with those languages.
No, that's beautiful. How many do you think you're helping every month right now?
That's a tough one because it
Yeah.
fluctuates every single month. But I can tell you every year we're providing about 30 million meals. So quite a
Wow.
bit through all of our programs.
Wow.
We have programs that are focused on seniors, on veterans, on
Yeah.
children. We do home deliveries. So we're doing quite a bit. Our hands are pretty much in a lot of different baskets trying to
Yeah.
reach people. So yeah, it's a big operation.
Do you see it fluctuate specifically like more need in the summer, more need in the winter? What does that look like for you guys?
So for us, we see a big need pick up around the holiday season. So November,
Yeah.
December is usually when we see a bigger need. It's also usually when we're getting less donations, surprisingly. Being in a food bank space, we rely a lot on donations. A lot of these donations come from distributors, from grocery stores. We often get what's surplus or what's remaining after the holidays. So usually grocery stores are pushing out their food during November, December. We might
Mm-hmm.
get turkeys and hams and all of the side dishes for Thanksgiving in January. So
Oh
usually we
yeah.
don't get those donations till after we've already had a surplus of people come through
Oh
needing food
wow.
assistance. So it's always kind of just us working with our resources to meet the need and then afterwards distributing what we have when we get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Partnering with communities, partnering with businesses, things like that. That's incredible. I mean, obviously, I think about like what time of year, why the holidays will probably because people are allocating their resources elsewhere,
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about all of those kinds of people that might be in need at that time. Does that number fluctuate every year? Do you see it shift drastically, or has it stayed pretty stable throughout the last few years?
Um, I would say
Or is it
it's
raising? Is it going higher?
it sort of shifts. We kind of have ebbs and flows throughout the year. Besides the holidays, usually in the summer, we see a big need as well. And
Hmm.
we attribute that to kids being home during the summer, maybe not having
Yes.
that school being a reliable source of food. So, our partners, we work with 250 nonprofit partners to get food out of our warehouse. They pick up that food, take it back to their resource centers, their community centers, their after school programs. Um, and they meet the need of the individuals within their community. But we see a lot more food being picked up from our partners during the summer months.
Yeah. Yeah. That part always worries me. this summer with the kids. We have a lot of that in our neighborhood. We see it, we know
Mhm.
it. We try to donate the most we can. I really loved when the schools really stepped up and especially through COVID and just started, hammering out food. Come and just
Yeah.
pick up food every day. Just come pick up food every day. And it was one of those things to see that I think it was like a light bulb moment for a lot of us
Mhm.
realizing, oh my gosh, there are so many kids who rely so heavily on breakfast and lunch at their school site. And,
Yeah.
yeah. And um, I'm curious about what you think of food deserts. So I understand we're in a food desert here in the Inland Empire. Could you explain what that is to somebody who maybe has never heard that term?
Yeah, so a food desert will look different across city to city. So, if you're in a more rural area, it means that there's essentially not a grocery store close to where you are. So, there
Mm,
might be fast food places closer to you than the nearest grocery store. There
wow.
is an area in the Inland Empire, and I'm forgetting the city name for it, but to get to the nearest grocery store, it essentially is about 15 miles to get there and 15 miles to get back. So
Oh
it's
my
much easier for
gosh.
them to just get Jack in a Box when that's a mile away than to go to the grocery store to get fresh, nutritious food. And it's
Wow.
cheaper for them to go to the local Jack in a Box to get the food. And that poses big problems because if people don't have access to fresh foods, they're going to have a lot of health complications as well. It's also difficult because a lot of these areas where there is a food desert or it's considered a food desert, they're already low income areas. So there might be transportation limitations. That makes it very, very difficult. To kind of give you an example of areas that would be considered food deserts, think of maybe Apple Valley, Barstow, Victorville. Those are considered food deserts. But surprisingly, there's a couple of other cities throughout the IE that people might not even consider, like Montclair and Upland. Apparently, a lot of areas within that is more populated with fast food places than grocery stores. So, very
Wow.
interesting. There's definitely a big need there.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So how do you meet those people in those communities? I mean, do you drive in? What kind of what kind of resources do you offer?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we work with a network of 250 partners, and we have
Hmm.
fantastic partners that are really meeting the need in that area. So they're driving out here, picking up that food, and then having regular ongoing food distributions in their community. But beyond that, that still leaves little pockets that maybe aren't getting as much support. So we do home deliveries for households over there that are food insecure. So
Hmm.
we will drop off a box of food every single month with staple items just to help them get by. If they're limited on funds, that's usually just enough food to get them through a couple of days to a week. If it's an area where we don't often have volunteers going out to that region, we'll send a couple of boxes just to hold them off a little bit longer. Our goal is to help get them acquainted with that if they're not able to get CalFresh assistance. But any
Right.
opportunity that we can get them CalFresh assistance, we also want to provide that as well.
So let me ask this, for somebody who maybe not food insecure but wants to help with what you're doing, can they make donations directly to your organization?
Yes. So for us, every dollar donated helps to provide up to 5 meals. So we can
Wow.
stretch that
Really? A
dollar
dollar?
pretty far. Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that's
Every
amazing.
dollar helps to provide up to 5 meals, which we consider to be pretty impactful.
Yeah.
I always say, depending on where you're located, donate to your local food bank. You can definitely donate to Feeding America at the national level, but it's not guaranteed that those funds will ever make their way down to the local region to support your most in need neighbors. When you donate to us for the Inland Empire, all of those funds stay in the Inland Empire.
Wow. Okay, that's actually really, really informative because I think people don't understand that part of it, right? I
Yeah.
want my neighborhood to benefit from this. Donate here then. Don't donate on a national level. I mean, donate on a national level. I'm not saying not to.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to see your money at work, that's the way to do it.
Totally. And supporting at the national level supports different things.
Right.
Those representatives that are on Capitol Hill really advocating for these resources, that's what you get when you donate to national. The recognition that you see in Super Bowl ads or in television ads, those billboards, that's paid for by national. They're really focused on bigger relationships, and they're helping us establish these relationships with the big guys, with the Walmarts, the Targets, the Krogers, all of those stores, those
Hmm.
relationships really come from the work that National is doing. donations
Right.
made locally, that's going to buying our food boxes, helping with transportation, making sure that your neighbor can get a food box, they can get CalFresh assistance, and everything that we're doing on the ground level.
What about food education? Do you offer some sort of food education as well?
Food education is so important to the work that we do. One way that we're really trying to bring food education to our work is through our program called TGIF, stands for The Goodness in Food, and it's geared to kids
Mm.
age 5 to 9 who can join our program. It's a 4-week program where they can learn about healthy eating, food banks, composting. This year, we're also going to be having a nutrition expert from CBU join us to talk to the parents and their children about making healthy choices. I love this program because at the beginning of it, the kids get to plant a seed to a vegetable. Every week, they get to watch it grow. And at the end of the program, the kids have a field trip. They go to Overflow Farms here in Riverside. They're
Yeah.
a huge community garden if you're familiar with them. The kids get to go over there. They get to walk through the different rows, see the different produce that's being grown, and anything that's already ready to be harvested. They get to taste it, they get to touch it. One of my favorite sessions was one where we went, I think it might have been spring or summer, but we had went over there. There was a bunch of corn, and he was able to roast all the corn for the kids. They got to, put
Oh.
their salt and pepper on it and taste it. So it was a really fun one. And they get to take a bag full of produce home to their families. It's a free program just at, bringing awareness to healthy eating, making healthy choices, substituting snacks for, homegrown stuff, and to encourage
Hmm.
them to grow their own stuff in their own backyard when they're able to. So
It's so funny when you think about it. When we are little kids and we're growing up in urban areas, a lot of us don't have room for gardens, don't think about, maybe have never even seen something
yeah.
grow, right? And so, yeah, getting them started so young is a great way for them to understand like the process of growing food and feeling it and understanding it and nurturing it, and then how it nurtures your own body. How young do you start these programs for these kids?
So the youngest we have is 5 years old. So kindergartners learning about
Hmm.
it. It's really fun. We get a lot of siblings that'll come. So they might be 5 and 7 or 5 and 8. And then we've had kids that they phase out of the program, but then they still want to come back with their siblings. So they help us out with the program, help us with the demos. So it's a lot of fun.
Aw.
We actually get a lot of homeschool kids that come out to it as well. So it's their chance to really socialize with other kids their age while learning. So it's a really, really fun program. And it's the only program we have that is specifically focused on education. So we love it. The families seem to love it, and it's coming back actually soon. It's going to be starting not this weekend, but the following Saturday. I think that's March 8th. March
So it
8th
starts
will
in
be our
March. Mhm.
first session back. So yeah, we still have some spots open. Kids can register. Their parents can come and learn with them. So
And this is just during the springtime every year, or how do you guys run that?
we do a spring session and then we do a fall session. So
Nice.
it's a 4-week program every Saturday for about an hour. I believe it starts 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The kids will come here, learn, and then they'll be on their way. And then the last session is an afternoon one since they'll be at the farm. So they'll go there. I think the time was 3 p.m. I need to double check on that, but it's an
Yeah,
afternoon
it's okay.
one where they go out there.
And they can learn more about this on your website. Where can
Yes,
they go?
on our website it's feedingie.org/TGIF.
Beautiful. That sounds like a ton of fun.
It is. It's a good one.
And how can people get involved? Can they volunteer for this program as well?
This program we don't need a whole lot of volunteers for. I think we have some volunteer spots filled already, but we do have a variety of volunteer opportunities
And
available throughout the community that are really impactful and really fun.
I imagine they can also find that on your website, right?
Yep, feedingie.org/volunteer.
Nice. I'm very pro volunteer. I feel like there's nothing that fills your heart, fills your soul more than volunteering and giving of something. And I almost feel like it can be selfish because you you're giving of yourself, but what you get back
Yeah.
when you give is almost tenfold. I always feel that way, and I love doing it. So I encourage everyone to get out there and volunteer, especially with an organization like yours, which is obviously doing a lot of good and helping a lot of people. Okay, so we know that they can get involved with you at feedingie.org, right?
Yes.
feeding.ie.org. Is there a phone number or is there support services or where else would you like to send our listeners or viewers regarding helping or getting services that you offer?
Yeah, so feedingie.org will take you to our homepage. Depending on whether you need support or you want to give support, you can click on the different tabs. If you click on Get Help, you'll find resources about our community partners, about our CalFresh application assistance, more information on our senior mobile pantries. But if you're able to give, you will see a button. I think it just says Give. You can click on
Mm-hmm.
that and it'll say Give Food, Give Funds, Give Time, or to join a tour. Lots of different ways you can support us. Volunteering, we have a variety of different ways that people can volunteer. Some of those include sorting food in our warehouse. Some of them would be helping out at our senior mobile pantries where you're helping our seniors take their food box to their cars. Some of those
Mm.
include gleaning in the communities, so going to different properties, picking all of the citrus and bringing it back to the food bank so we can distribute it,
Yeah.
but also giving funds. We can stretch those funds really far, and it's such unpredictable times right now. We don't know what next year will look like as far as funding, but we have a lot of concerns. So every dollar helps provide up to 5 meals. We can stretch that far, and we will do our best to make the best use of it here in the IE.
That's a number that's going to really come that I'm going to walk away from this remembering. A dollar can provide up to 5 meals. We all have a dollar. I mean, we can really share, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Before I let you go, I love to ask all of my guests, what are the three key takeaways that you really want to just hammer home with our listeners and our viewers today?
Yeah, I would just say our best way of advocating is to really just share these resources, whether you know people that can give or you know people that need help. Um, there's always a way that we can connect people together just by speaking. So I would say that's one takeaway. I would hope another takeaway would be, again, the dollar provides up to 5 meals. We consider ourselves to be very resourceful and we're confident in the way that we distribute our resources. So I would even say if you have any uncertainties, you can look at our 990s, visit our GuideStar, Charity Navigator. We feel very confident in the way that we're using our funds.
Hmm.
Um, the third takeaway that I want people to get would be there are a lot of worthy causes in the area, and we're connected to a lot of them. There's 250 partners that we work with to get resources out. If somebody is distributing food in the community, an organization, there's a good chance that we're working with them. So another reason to support us. But just in the IE, the nonprofits here really do need a lot of support. So I would say if you're able to give, even if it's not to us, I would give the way that you can because there's a big need here.
I love that. That's a great way to end this. I super appreciate you coming on the show today, Carolyn. I first of all, let me say congratulations on just all the good work that you're doing personally and with this organization. And I hope we can reach a lot of people and help share this message of giving back and helping provide the Inland Empire what they really need and sharing all of these resources as well. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope we can have you back again, maybe closer to the fall when you guys kick off your next program for the kids again, or whenever you're welcome back.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.